All right. Thank you for joining us. I'm April Bordeaux and I'm from Care to Change, as you know. And today's topic is how to help your employees who might feel especially stressed during this time. This is a video that we will have on our website. Most likely if you've tuned in, it's because you've gone through a web link or a social media link. And just know this was recorded during the Corona pandemic, but the information that I'm going to share with you right now is good for employees who are stressed if they have specific trauma or grief or special circumstances in their lives. So this is something that will also carry over in other areas, in other times. So hopefully this is something that can be helpful long before or long after the COVID-19 has past us in whatever way that looks. So I'm glad you're here. Just to give you a minute about myself, I am one of the owners of Care to Change Counseling, located our main office is in Avon, just west of Indianapolis. And we started Care to Change back in 2016 and have a large team of specialized therapists who help with all kinds of different issues. We don't hire generalists here, but we used evidence-based models to help people get through life's challenges, and we are here for you. So if in today's discussion you do not get your question answered, give us a call, 317-790-9396, or you can email us at care to change. It's help@caretochange.org. Text, email, call, whatever is your message us on social media, whatever is easiest for you. So today we're going to get started on how to help your employees during stressful times. I think the first and most important, I'm going to give you 7 tips today. And the first thing that I want to talk about is recognizing feelings. Now, before you completely shut me off, because this isn't a hard tip, here's the reason why this is important, especially during this pandemic. We are uncertain about the impact of the COVID virus. We don't know the end of it. And so there is not a single person who doesn't feel the effect of it in some way or another, whether it's financially, whether it's relationally, certainly socially, and then there's the obvious physical threat that anyone may or may not feel at some point to some level. And so this is something that impacts all of us, and it's an area of uncertainty. And with that comes all sorts of reactions. So when someone is experiencing stress, and again, this doesn't have to be Corona. This could be the loss of a family member. It can be a death, divorce, a new diagnosis. There is a lot of stress that someone feels. And when we are under stress, our bodies were created to produce hormones that protect ourselves. So I'll give you an example. When you put on your running shoes and you start running and it's the first time you've worn your running shoes, if they're not already broke in, you might develop a blister or 2 on your feet. We get mad at the blisters that we feel. However, it's our body's response to protect us from feeling hurt. And so those blisters are actually meant to protect us from further harm. And so we don't ask our bodies to create those blisters. Our bodies just naturally create them. When we are under stress, our bodies create protective hormones. That means we are going to sleep differently. We are going to react differently to statements that would normally not bother us. We might feel more irritable. We might be out of routine. We're going to feel differently. And in response, we might respond to routine tasks differently. And why does that matter as an employer? You will see, if you haven't already, your employees behaving in ways that might leave you saying, wow, I had no idea that they would ever act like that. Or I can't believe he or she said, fill in the blank. they are so stressed out. I've never seen this side of them before. And especially if you are in the HR field, in the HR, if that's your world as an HR manager, coordinator, president, whatever the role is, if your role is related to the human resource element, you're going to be asked, are we allowed to let this employee behave this way? Because generally this would be cause for some sort of action on our part, whether it's a corrective action plan of some sort. And so as a company, you're going to want to make a decision on how you treat your employees who are behaving in ways that seem unlike them during the stressful time. So if you first of all recognize that our bodies produce hormones that make us behave in protective ways and respond in ways that we might not normally respond, then maybe your response to your employee might be a little different. And I'm not going to tell you what to do. That's between you and your company and what your company policies are. But I think the most important first step in this is recognizing that feelings aren't going to be the norm when an employee feels stressed, which means their reactions won't either. So the first step is recognize that everyone is stressed. That could mean your reactions might not be the way they normally would. It could be theirs. And if both are reacting, then it could become explosive. I've already had people who have called me and contacted me and said, this is what's happened. I have no idea what's going on. Normally this would be grounds for even potential termination. I don't know how to respond to none of this. And my response is, first of all, you got to name what's happening. And during something like this, sometimes we need to offer some grace. Now, I'm not going to talk about patterns of behavior and that sort of thing. That's completely different. But again, the first step is recognizing that feelings can be a response and just know what those are. The second is for us as employers to focus on what we can control during this stressful time. So as an employer, we have certain policies we've laid out. We have expectations of our employees. We have processes for how we conduct business, how our business should operate. But when something like COVID comes into place, we don't have a policy for it. How does your company address a global pandemic? We might have disaster planning. Should there be a fire, in some states, a hurricane, tornado, but we don't necessarily have one for a global pandemic. So there's a lot that we can't control. We don't know here in Indiana, for example, when the sheltering in place will be removed from us. So we can't control it. So it feels like we're constantly making change. We're constantly adapting to what it is that's being required of us. Can employees come back? Are there 10? Are we essential employees? Who are the essential employees? Do we have adequate cleaning and sanitizing mechanisms in place? Will our employees feel safe when they return? There are so many things out of our control. And so we can spend days on end and hours on end talking about what we don't know, or we can focus on what we can control. We can control whether or not we have hand sanitizer available. We can control when the office gets cleaned. We can control how we respond to employees. And so when employees come to us stressed out, we can control what our response is. And sometimes as leaders, we need to give ourselves permission to say, I don't have an answer, but I'm going to do my best to get it for you. Just to pause and give ourselves permission to say, I'm in this with you. I want the best for you. We together want the best for this company, but we don't have control over this. And so we're going to focus on what we can control. And that's how we're going to spend our time and how we're going to treat each other in the middle of this. So when you see an employee who's really stressed out, first, recognizing that there's a reason to be stressed out. And then second of all, saying, okay, of their stress, exactly what can I control in this situation? And how can I help them know what they can control in this situation? The third is eliminating toxic influences. Now, everyone has a different culture in their company, whether or not you send out regular emails or communication, or right now have regular Zoom meetings of some sort, whether you have a TV in the lobby that's playing news during the day or in the evening when the business is open, whether or not there's constant streaming in the lounge or in the break rooms. But as employers, we can help employees who are stressed by eliminating toxic influences in the building and what we provide to them. What does that mean? We need to, as leaders, stay informed about Corona, but we don't need to at the cost of too much exposure, and we don't need to give that exposure to our employees. So my recommendation is to, when employees are coming saying that they're stressed, they're not sure what to do, behaving a certain way, encourage them to look at credible sites for their information. The CDC and the health department, the governor's website, not Facebook, not their local, their favorite the social media character, not the news that says, guess what, so-and-so's 16-year-old son did so-and-so, and that must mean that every 16-year-old fill in the blank. We can't base our decisions on stories. We have to base them on facts. And as a company, we can eliminate toxic influences by what we share, what stats we use, what websites we quote in our communication, and we can be direct with our ask. I'm going to ask you as the leader of this organization to please refer to the CDC, the State Department of Health, or the governor's website. So encourage employees to eliminate toxic influences from where they're gathering their information as well. The fourth is creating healthy routines. So what can we do as employers to help encourage creating healthy routines for our employees? Are they getting adequate sleep? Are they hydrating? Are they eating properly? Are they taking time to exercise? Are they taking time for mindfulness practices like journaling or creativity or meditating or reading scripture and praying? Are they creating healthy routines? Now, as an employer, we can't mandate healthy routines of our people, but we can do two things. We can model it, and we can also create an environment that promotes it. So, do we have water on hand? Do we permit them to take breaks and take walks? Do we encourage them to? Do we require them to work late into the evening, or do we say, it's getting late, it's probably time for rest? Do we ask them questions like, what'd you do with your family this weekend, to promote them doing things unrelated to work? So we can't mandate their healthy routines, but we can certainly encourage it, make it a part of the culture, and also just provide an environment that promotes that. When they walk into the building, there's hand sanitizer right there, but the refrigerator is stocked with water. The snacks that are in the snack room or in the break room are healthy snacks. That when we have team meetings, the food that we provide is healthy food. If there are team meetings where you're actually getting together still, which I don't know that there are at this point, but really creating healthy routines. And I know for us at Care to Change, we've been doing this for a while, but it's especially important now. We have a weekly communication that we send out to the employees so that they know what's happening for the week and what to expect for the week. And as part of that, we always put one self-care tip. So one thing they can do that week to take care of themselves. What I will say is May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so during May, I've heard other businesses ask for information about Monday, Mental Health Monday. So they're going to promote a mental health tip on Mondays and call it Mental Health Monday, or Wellness Wednesday. What's our Wellness Wednesday tip for employees? And that's something you can do when an employee is stressed or when they're not stressed to help prevent some of the behavior that happens when people are overly stressed. So creating healthy routines and modeling those and promoting those in the environment is an important part of helping employees who are stressed. Recognizing if they don't have healthy routines, asking what you can do to support them. How can I support you in creating a healthy routine is important. The fifth tip is supporting and connecting with others. It's really important, especially during stressful times, that we give opportunities for our employees to connect with people who care about them, maybe people who are unrelated to their job, so that they can have some fun outside of outside of the work environment. How can we as employers do that? We can give them gift cards to their favorite place to eat, tell them in a nice handwritten note, have a date night on us, we appreciate you. We can, if you are a company that likes to get together, you can, I've heard of one company that is, they're having Zoom game time. So they're coming together just to play games. I don't know about everyone watching here, but I don't want to add another Zoom meeting to my day. So the idea of having a Zoom game time isn't that fun for me. But if that's something that you want to do or your group needs to do, it's an idea. There are some groups having Zoom Bible studies together. Just having drive-bys. I know a lot of schools are doing drive-by days, so the groups are driving through neighborhoods to say hi. So encourage your employees to stay connected to loved ones. So when they're stressed, know who their support system is and ask them, when was the last time they talked with them? Offer to get them a Zoom account if you need to, so that they can stay connected, at least visually, if they can't in person. Reconnecting with loved ones and staying with people who you know love you will make a difference during stressful times. So connecting is an important part. Now, what happens if their stress is related to the people who they are close to? That's a good question. What do you do if the stress is coming from the people who are supposed to be the loved ones? Well, this kind of leads us into number 6, and that's reach out for help. So if during this time they're saying, I would love to connect with my loved ones, but my loved ones are the ones driving me crazy, then I would say, well, it's probably time to reach out for help. Feeling anxiety during stressful times, knowing that there's difficulty concentrating, having headaches, there's definitely physical symptoms and relational symptoms like being short-tempered. It can obviously affect relationships. And so it might be time to reach out for help. And so if someone comes in and they're stressed and you ask them, well, who is your support system and who have you been leaning on during this time? And they say, no, it's my support system causing me the trouble. Then what can we do to help you reach out and get some support from someone outside? And obviously Care to Change sees couples and parents and individuals during especially stressful times. So encourage your employees to reach out for help. And one thing I would say about that is that people, I don't want to go into therapy. I don't need therapy. I'm just stressed out. Well, what if you just need a safe space to vent during this time, to get you over this or to help get you through this, and then you move on? The beauty of seeing a counselor or a therapist is when you say what you need to say, the information stays in the room, and then you leave, and guess what? It's still back in the room. You don't have to see that person at Thanksgiving dinner. You don't have to see them in the office anymore. A counselor is completely confidential. So being able to have a safe space to just say what you want with no fear of it ever coming back is sometimes helpful to someone who is stressed out. So encourage them to reach out for help. And then the last one is number 7, and this is really a value proposition. It's where people find peace. So every company is different. Every company has different values and principles that they operate by. At Care to Change, we're a Christian company, and so we find our true peace in the faith that we have in God. And so sometimes just bringing it back to the basic value of where are you finding your peace? Where do you turn to find peace is an important conversation to have. Now, not every employer is going to want to have that kind of conversation with an employee, which is why it's important to do all these other things or to refer to someone who can have that kind of conversation. But when it comes to employees who are stressed, a lot of this is preventative in nature, but some of this is right now they're stressed. What can we do? Recognize that this is happening and that it's normal to feel stressed, to have difficult conversations and such. Focus on what you can control during this time. Eliminate the toxic influences that we make available to others. Help and promote them into helping to create healthy routines. Support and connect with them in any way that we can, and encourage them to reach out for help, remembering where to find peace and comfort during this time. So a lot of this is soft. It feels soft. Again, it's not 10 tips and here's a corrective action plan. This isn't meant to be an HR strategy session, more of, hey, I've got really stressed employees. What can I do to help? And I think one tip that's not specific to this that I will share is what we call the gift of presence. So if you're listening to this, you probably have someone in mind who's really stressed out. And sometimes we, again, especially during a pandemic, we don't have the answers. We can't provide them the foundation that brings them peace. But what we can do is give them the gift of presence, which is just sitting with them and saying, yes, I recognize this is hard. I see that. Just really validating that, yeah, it is stressful. What can we do together to let them know that they're not alone in this and that you have their back and that you have their best interest in mind. Your people really are what make your company. And so it's important to treat them with the way you would want to be treated if you feel particularly stressed. So I want to invite you to ask questions if you have any. Again, my direct email is april.bordeaux@caretochange.org. You can email me directly if you have specific questions about an employee. If you would like an overview of what I've just shared, I'd be happy to put that out. It's also on our website under the COVID tab, so you can look for it there. We wish you the very best as you care for your employees. And again, I know as a company, you might feel stressed. So practice these things for yourselves as well. Focusing on what you can control, eliminating toxic influences, having healthy routines, staying connected, reaching out, all of those things. Those are important for you to do as well so that you're responding your best for the people who need you the most during this time. So I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks again.